what was your financial position in starting up? You know, we know you were a mom. So when you did start up, I mean, did you have to take out a loan? Did you have angel investors? You know, what did you do to support yourself while you were building your practice? That sort of stuff.
So while I was building, oh, okay. So as far as financing my practice and building it, so we're looking at the Great Recession. And in 2008, we all know what happened. That's when the housing market crashed, the financial crisis occurred. The airlines and the car manufacturers were borrowing money and being bailed out by the federal government. So funds were definitely quite limited. I went to about 10 or 20 banks and took my business plan and filled out applications. And many of those banks didn't even respond.
Wow.
And what got me through is I read a book by Magic Johnson, and he had been denied, even with all his history, all his NBA money, he had been denied loans when he was trying to open up one of his first projects. And it encouraged me because even, I'm like, okay, even if Magic Johnson was having problems securing capital. So what I ended up doing is I maxed out my credit cards, I wiped out my savings, and I've always been good when it comes to having a cushion. And I was able to get a microloan from a lender. And so there was a lender here in town called Big Austin. There's another one called People Fund. And I had talked to the Big Austin folks first. And so they had started off, I think their loan started at like maybe $10,000. But they went up to $19,000 for me. And after Big Austin had approved me, somebody had sent me to People Fund and they were going to do 120 something $1,000. And I thought about it, and with it being in a recession, and I was like, okay, I still needed a family member, to co-sign because I'm fresh out, still fresh, pretty fresh out of school, don't have any proven track record. And so for me, I was more comfortable with the lesser amount. So I didn't open up on a grand scale like I thought I would. So I found, a less expensive overhead office. And before I think I even got approved for the loan, I had actually signed a lease. And I just stepped out on faith. And I think that as entrepreneurs, you have to have that risk-taking ability and trust in yourself and what you can do, because it's not for, the lighthearted. There's a lot of ups and downs that you go through and a lot of risks that you take. And so I actually signed a lease without having, without knowing how I was going to pay for that second, third, fourth, or so forth month's rent. And so I went ahead, I signed the lease. After I signed the lease, I want to say maybe within a couple of weeks, I received the approval for the $19,000 loan, but I didn't spend that money on overhead. So what I spent that money on was two pieces of equipment. I got a MyoVision segmental EMG with a range of motion machine, and I bought a Chattanooga Intellect Legend LT cart 4-channel, and that was all of that money, because I think one piece was 10, the other one was 7. And by the time you had shipping and all that other stuff, it was gone. So I spent the loan money, the loan proceeds on equipment, investing in equipment and a hydroculator. That was the other thing that I got, the hydroculator. I was also fortunate because I bought equipment from a couple of chiropractors that either stopped practicing or closed an office, and I got some fantastic deals. So I got secondhand equipment. I remember a few of my friends helped me not only pick it up from Dallas, but also loaded up. We had an elevator in our building, but you couldn't even navigate it in there. So they had to carry some of that equipment up the stairs. We painted, and I made it more of a community project when I look back on it. So that saved quite a bit of money because I didn't need a build out. I didn't need to have this extravagant office. But that first office, it's kind of interesting because Yelp had just came out. And I remember getting a Yelp review where, and it was an older building. I mean, you could tell it was an old Austin building. It's still there. The landlord was an older gentleman, and he was not about to put a bunch of money in his building. So when you walked in, it looked a little questionable, you know, a low B or C office space. But what I did was I made my suite as nice as I could. And people would literally, and it smelled good in there. So people would literally walk through the building and then you could see their faces. But as soon as they opened the door, it was like they exhaled, they were in peace, they relaxed. And so my first Yelp review that's still on there, it's stuck for Longevity Wellness Group. And it says the office looked like an old dirty dorm. You can read it, from the 70s. But the doctor was really nice and not pushy. And they should really consider another space. And I don't know if you know about how the Yelp reviews work, but that first one is there for the rest of your life. It's like that digital footprint is always there. And I took it personal at first because we didn't have reviews and things like that coming up. You know, technology was just really evolving. And so, you know, that was something that, you know, it's kind of like social media is now, where, you know, people take a lot of things personal. We had the reviews, and Yelp reviews were that for me, to where I was like, okay, you know, I can't take everyone's experience, you know, at face value, but, you know, what she said, I could understand, you know, I could see it, but I felt like she didn't rate us on her experience in the office. She rated more so on what she felt the office building was. And that was something that I just couldn't control at that time.